Another episode of the Just Beavin podcast coming your way right now. We are beaverless here this week. It is season 2, episode 11 of the pod. Andy and JP back with you. Busy schedules this week. We're coming up on a busy time of the year for Drew and his teaching year and coaching and all the other stuff that he does throughout the week. So he is unable to join us this week, but you will be seeing Beaver at the very end of the show. He is still getting in his picks of the week segment. I'm excited to see how Drew is going to integrate that into the show this week with a little skit he has planned. But JP, it's just the two of us this week, but we still have a very eventful week 10 to go over, a very eventful week 11 to preview, and some more power rankings here this week.
Yeah, a lot went on this week. Some shifting at the top of the league. The 1, 2, 3, 4 seed are kind of shaping out now, and I think as we get down to the end of the season here, those 4 teams seem like they're almost set in stone. So
Yeah, and after this week, we could be seeing Steve Kornacki Jr. back in the fray. This is week 11 coming up, and you said that after week 11, we're going to get the playoff probabilities, the matchup probabilities, who needs to win what, who needs to lose what to earn each seed. It's getting to be that exciting time of the year entirely. And like JP mentioned, we're going to get into the week 10 recaps right now. A lot of shifting throughout the top of the league this week. And it helps that some heavy hitters played each other this past week and some surprises at the bottom as well. Something we kind of talked about on the show last week. And right off the rip, JP, we'll hit your matchup with Frank. A lot of implications were involved here in this showdown. And I'll let you take it, JP. You dropped to 8-2. Frank improves to 8-2, and his team left no doubt this week.
yeah, Frank will remember this was eerily similar to our week 1 matchup in which I scored 180 and he scored 122. We just flipped roles here. All things considered, in the preview or the end of week recap, I was it was only 128 points, yet I was the highest scorer that lost, or the highest score in a loss was me. So I mean, we'll take what we can get. The team didn't really show up. I mean, the Ravens guys are really killing me this year in unfathomable ways. I'm so mad that JJ McCarthy's back because watching that game, I was clawing my eyes out. I don't think he hit a throw that mattered all game. All game. Extremely frustrating stuff from him. The same with watching Marvin Harrison. Brissett couldn't hit him to save his life. And then the 3 tight ends just did. Brock Bowers dudding on Thursday kind of set the tone for this match. I figured I was going to get killed after that. Gadsden leaves the game early, and Mac Jones is my leading scorer for the week. And that about tells you how the week went. All things considered, though, I'm really not upset with the loss. I still have the tiebreaker over Frank just by 0.4 at this moment in time. The team just didn't show up, and there's not much I can do. He had Gibbs, London, and McBride, who I think were the 3 high. Or well, no, I take that back. Jonathan Taylor was the highest scoring, but he went for 48 or whatever the hell. And I mean, Gibbs scoring 38, so he had London, who was the leading receiver for the week, and McBride, who was the leading tight end for the week. So all things considered, I mean, I still scored 128, which it's whatever. Frank had a damn good week, and not many guys were going to beat him this week besides Boyer. So
Yeah, I think this is kind of what you've been alluding to. Just your cap and move forward. You've had an amazing season up to this point, 8-1, your first 9. You talked about that game with Zippy that you make the argument you very easily could have won that one. So, I mean, you're bound to have games like this at some point. I mean, we've all had lower scoring showings this year. Sometimes you catch a break and those 120, 130 point efforts come against teams that aren't trying to win and you get away with it. And unfortunately here, like you said on your end, you're coming off a 217 point week and there just wasn't much you could do with Frank here this week. You already talked about Jefferson and Harrison. I was going to hit on that. The catches to targets doesn't do it justice for those guys. It's not like those two are dropping many balls or they're missing their reads or routes. Like it's Brissett and McCarthy. Those guys look brutal this past weekend. So that's obviously a tough look as well. You talked about the triple tight end formation. That was a big sticking point in our previews last week. That didn't really come to fruition for you. Solid game for Mac Jones. It helps that the Niners were playing from behind for most of that game. You need those points where you can get them. And you kind of touched on the rest. For Frank, he's on a heater these last 2 weeks. He beat me with 160 a week ago, and a lot of that was carried by a 38-point performance from Drake London. This week, he gets it from Trey McBride and Jahmyr Gibbs. Nix is a problem in a bad way. Like, this is the quarterback. I mean, to no fault of Frank, he's got decent guys in terms of like name recognition on his team, but Nix and Stroud just, I mean, and Ward has been a total flub so far as the number one pick this year. I mean, these guys just aren't coming through for him. But I will say, if we want to look at a positive side of things as a position that could swing his way as a golden ticket for a deep playoff run, his tight ends have been absolutely fantastic. I already mentioned McBride. Down week for Kincaid, but he's been getting a lot of looks as a top target in that Buffalo offense. That was just a weird game for the Bills in general this past week against Miami. And Dalton Schultz has been an unsung hero this fantasy football season. He has been flying under the radar, and he has been completely fantastic. So luckily for Frank, his poor quarterback play didn't kill him this week, but he's got a lot to love with his tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Trey McBride is a cheat code this year. He was this good last year, but at least I had Bowers to match McBride. I was probably the only guy in the league who could say I had a tight end that could go stride for stride with McBride. But at this point, it's Frank's team looks good, and like you
Yeah.
mentioned, no quarterback play, and he's still putting up 180. So
And I think, yeah, we can get on to our next matchup. That's the thing is like, despite no quarterback play, he's still doing that. I think obviously you're frustrated with poor quarterback play, but at the same time, man, how can you not be excited knowing that that's what your team can do, even when a position doesn't show up on a given week? Matt coming out with a victory here. I'll start this one, him against Jack. And this past week for Matt, you look at the last 2 weeks, JP, rather underwhelming performances for Matt. I believe he put up 116 in a win last week. He puts up 121 here this week. It's a solid Baker Mayfield debut for Henny, that trade with Ty right in front of the deadline. I think when looking, Montgomery's on Matt's team, right? If we scroll up,
yeah,
these
yep.
we have so much movement in our league. Okay, it is Montgomery. Unless Jameer Gibbs gets hurt or David Montgomery changes teams, I unfortunately think this is kind of what you should expect from David Montgomery in a fantasy standpoint moving forward. He's not the same goal line touchback as he's been for quite a while. I think Matt's going to keep that in mind moving forward. Getting big production from Nico Collins and Vontae Adams, those guys stepped up big. And I will say, I mean, despite no win, you still got to look at a guy putting up 120 points and say what went wrong. The bottom of his lineup, it's a lot left to be desired. Poor play from Sutton. Taylor not getting the look. I mean, the Jets offense. What do you really expect? Justin Fields, I think, was 6 of 11 on Sunday.
Yeah,
You got Bam Knight in the flex. Mark Andrews did okay, but and Bryce Young just another brutal fantasy performance. And yeah, man, I mean that's all I got on Matt's team. If you want to touch on Jack or anything else you have on Matt, I can jump in with Jack's reflection.
yeah. The one thing all I was going to say about Matt is, he's missing Javonte Williams and Jamar Chase, so he gets them back, but at some point he's got to figure out whether it's worth even starting Bryce or Gino. And then I think what's going to be the real killer for him is that Mason Taylor or Mark Andrews has to play on a weekly basis. And yeah, Mark Andrews scored 12 this week, and what do you have, 20 last week, 18, but that was on 3 touchdown catches. Is all those points are coming from, and that's not going to sustain. You're not going to score a touchdown every single week, so. Matt's got some things to figure out, and then yeah, I mean for Jack, it's Drake May, the Daniel Jones show, and Kate Otten went off, but outside of that, there wasn't really anything going. I mean, Christian Kirk might have been one of the worst acquisitions in fantasy history. I
Yeah,
don't even know what he went for at this point. Oh, the Jonathan Taylor trade. Well, Christian Kirk's been absolutely terrible, and Cooper Kupp hasn't been much better. I don't even know where Cooper Kupp is. He's not even starting him, but it's just Jack's team's rough, and it is what it is. But Jack has, I will say that with the loss and as we'll get to Crook winning his matchup, Jack has slid into the second overall pick spot.
that's worth keeping an eye on. You'll get Bauer, Ollie Gordon in negative points this week. You get 0.2 points out of your top two running backs. It's never obviously a good sign. Not a dominant game from Drake May, right? But he still looked okay. You talked about Otten and Danny Dimes, the only guys really worth talking about. We're waiting for Rashid Shaheed to get a bigger role in Seattle coming off that trade. I think that's coming. I think they're going to get him more involved moving forward. And you mentioned Christian Kirk. I just don't think it's going to happen there. I really don't. He's good. He has the opportunities, right? There are pass catchers down on that team. You look at not having, or you lose Stephon Diggs to the Patriots this past year, and you don't have Tank Dell at all this season, right? The opportunities were going to be there for Christian Kirk as long as he could stay healthy, and he's on the field. He's just not really coming up with anything. So I didn't even totally forgot he went in that Jonathan Taylor deal. So that's all I got on Jack's end. But as you mentioned, JP, a lot more now toward the bottom of the league with other games and how they turned out this week as we get on to our next matchup in week 10. And here it is. Crook getting his first win of the season First win in over a year, I believe. It was at week 4, week
Since
5.
September of 2024 was the last time he won a
So
game. So
14 months since Cam has won a game. JP, I'll let you start us here. He breaks 100 in a game where he nearly doubles Dade's production.
yeah, not much to say. Tez Johnson catches 2 touchdowns. Tyler Warren goes for 8 catches, 99 yards. Luther Bird starting to get involved. You got to be happy about that. Dylan Gabriel plays probably his best game of the season. Ignore the incompletions, and I've seen some stuff on Twitter that he's has a lot of miscued throws, but I mean he's got no time back there. I still think Gabriel can be a serviceable backup in the league. I don't know if he's starter material, but I think he could carve out a role as a frisky little backup. That's not going to win you games, but he's certainly not going to be the reason you lose them. And then, yeah, J.J. McCarthy, cause for worry. 20 for 42, and let me tell you, that completion percentage is extremely accurate. He could not hit a throw to save his damn life on Sunday. It was awfully embarrassing. There were some times Jetta's had some guys beat, and McCarthy makes a bad ball and has to let Jetta's make a play on it. And when you're the best receiver in the league, you're getting double teamed all the time, and it's almost impossible to consistently make those catches. But yeah, so Crook wins his first game. Crook still owns the #1 pick via himself. But as we get farther in, Wade's pick is now the 103 and Jack's the 102. Also, Dave, this was a very pitiful performance, dude. I think this might be like genuinely trying to win a game, like not even setting the tanking lineup.
No,
This
he
might
set a
be like,
legit lineup. Yeah.
yeah, this might be the genuine lowest, like genuinely trying to attempt a win.
Michael Penix was Dade's only double-digit scorer. He had 10.98. There really is not much to say there. Nobody scored. If you look at his bench, nobody scored on his bench because all his bench guys are either hurt or just not playing. So it's not like Dade could have set a better lineup. Like this was the best possible lineup he could have trotted out this week.
Yep.
Jordan Love. I mean, that whole game last night, I had a broadcast, so I missed most of it. But by the looks of it, when I looked at our group chat, I didn't really miss much. I mean, it was
No,
a bad,
unwatchable.
bad football game, man. So yeah, really tough week for Dade. I think he's going to probably be stuck at that 4-win total unless I'm missing something or forgetting something in his schedule for the final 4 weeks. And for Crook, like you said, not a whole lot from the man they call Nine. I'm not really seeing it from McCarthy right now. And I hope we get that same version of Nine on Sunday when he takes on Chicago.
Please.
Yeah, Tyler Warren back to doing his thing. And hey, getting a win in the year 2025 when you're starting Malik Heath, very impressive, Cam. And not only did you get a win with Heath in your lineup, you blew him out. So, and Dotson put up 0. Did he have 2 goose eggs in his lineup or 3?
2 and almost 3.
And
Samson was
almost 3
almost
with
the third.
Samson. Hey, you know what? Give credit where credit's due. Congrats, Crook. And we officially, we'll get to it with Wade, but we will not have an 0-14 season this year. So that's good for the league. It's
very
good,
good for the league.
Good to not have back-to-back blowout season or winless seasons from a team rather. And we now transition to Hunley's Hicks. Luke back in the win column again. He's 2-0 since joining the pod the second time. I know he came on here during the trade deadline special and said, "Oh, it's a curse to come on this podcast. I've lost my last 3, gone from 5-0 to 5-3." Well, he's 7-3 now, so clearly he just needed another appearance on the podcast. It's kind of similar to Matt, JP. Not a dominant victory. He didn't put up any big numbers, 134-104 the final, but given who he played this week in Ty, he didn't really need to have, a big boom week. Concerning performance from Bijan Robinson. We mentioned already that Bills-Dolphins game was weird. You don't even get 20 points out of Josh Allen. I was laughing watching the Bears game every time. Darius Slayton making a couple of big grabs against the Bears, and every time I see Darius Slayton, the first person I think of is Luke because
Same.
it's the meme will literally never die. Big game for Chris Olave when he needed it the most, and it's the best performance you're going to see from Aaron Jones and Luke's flex since week 1 against Chicago. And I guess all I have left for Luke is, oh boy, Justin Fields. If you look at his stat line from Sunday against Cleveland and what is known as the Poop Bowl this year, I believe Fields was 6 of 11. I know I said that earlier on the pod.
6 of 11, yeah.
Yeah.
54 yards.
And if he did not complete that 42-yard dump off touchdown to Breece Hall, he would have had 11 passing yards or 12 passing yards on the day. Not good, man. Not good in the slightest. For Ty, this is his new reality for at least for the rest of this year. We know he's going to try and redial the wheel this offseason, go from slightly rebuilding / retooling to winning again. Not having a QB to start in Ty's case never really helps your efforts to win. I believe Teddy Bridgewater was his QB1 this week. Strong showings from Ladd and St. Brown. It's good to see McConkey got involved pretty frequently in that Sunday night game. And how about Parker Washington, JP? 3 straight really solid games. I have him in a couple of redraft leagues. It's a sneaky guy to have as well. So I'll let you finish off your thoughts on Luke's 30-point victory.
Yeah, I mean, he did that all with DJ Moore leaving the game relatively early and not getting involved prior to him and Caleb just did not seem to hook up. But yeah, I own Bijan in a redraft league, and it's been an extremely frustrating year. I don't understand. Like I understood when they weren't trying to win games or they didn't have the team quite ready to win games, and so you don't want to wear the tread out on your brand new sports car before you can actually race the thing. You want to preserve it. And now that it's time to win. It's Raheem Morris is fighting for his job. Zach Robinson's fighting for his job. I don't understand how you're not feeding this guy the rock consistently. I mean, I don't know if it's Michael Penix or it's the way the offense is designed. I'm sure it's both, but every pass play, it feels like the ball is thrown to Drake London. And so you would think they'd want to treat Bijan Robinson the same way. But, it is what it is. I mean, fantasy owners everywhere are frustrated with Bijan, and Luke's no exception to that. But yeah, big win for Luke. And it's sad because I believe if Ty kept his team together, he would have won this week. And he said himself that he thought he was going to lose, so he blew it up. But Ty'd be looking at a whole different season right now if he had kept the team. So
Yeah, it's always a tough decision to make, right? When push comes to shove in certain aspects with this league. And I don't know. I feel like if you're not totally sold one way or another, if you believe you have a fighting chance, I feel like we say this a lot on the pod. It's super redundant, but as long as you get yourself a ticket to the dance, you just never know what might happen. I say this continually. I sound like a broken record, and I apologize to our listeners for that. Literally, you look at our league history. The first two league champions were the very last team to make the playoffs. I'm not saying that would have been the case with Ty or with myself or Matt or Drew, all of us that are, well, mainly me, Matt, and Drew now kind of fighting for the final couple of spots. But I mean, not to throw you out there, JP, but you get a team of your caliber that and dud weeks happen, man, and you just never know when they're going to happen. So that's just kind of how it goes. Ty made the decision to be a bit more conservative and not go all in and rock with this. That's fine, but yeah, it's never easy decision because you can always then look back and go, oh, what if? What if I kept the band together? I win this week. I'm back to 5-5, and you just never know. So that
I will break some news, but
yeah,
J.K. Dobbins sleeper notification likely to be placed on the injured reserve. Just something to watch
ooh,
as Ty joins the tank battle. So
interesting. That'll be very interesting. But yeah, no, those are just my thoughts. An interesting matchup this week. And we head to our second first time winner of the season. How about Wade Worthington? His first win in Beaverfest since joining the league last year. He's now 1-9, taking down Brady this week. And JP, not pretty for Wade, but hey, they all are chalked up the same at the end of the day. And he had some guys show out this
yeah, tough week for Brady. I know Crook was very aggressive towards Brady in our other group chat because he needed Brady to beat Wade so Crook can avoid doing the Fat Panda, although it looks like Crook is going to be doomed into doing the Fat Panda. But yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. DeMarcado always plays good. He's a
week.
solid running back. He always plays good. I just don't understand how he can never crack the actual a team's lineup. Debo played all right. I'm so tired of his garbage time touchdowns. They are so frustrating. Alec
Four
Pierce
catches
is
for 29 yards. Gross.
that's like the second time he's had that stat
It's
line.
gross. Sorry to cut you off.
Where's
That's
no,
just
you're
gross.
good. I mean, that's like there was another time where he had a horrible stat line. Okay, I guess maybe that wasn't this year. I could have sworn there was another time he had a terrible stat line with a touchdown, but I guess not. Anyways, um, point being that Alec Pierce might be the greatest deep ball receiver in the league. Troy Franklin actually looks very good as well, and Laporta continues to earn his worth. Musgrave, relatively disappointing, but like you mentioned earlier, that whole game was horrible. And the man of the hour, Tyler Shug there, coming in. Yes, it was Carolina, but boy, did he look good. And I didn't mention it on Luke's team because I was saving it for when we got to Wade, but we talked about Chris Olave last week, and if Shug taking over was going to be a problem for Chris Olave, and at least for this week, it does not appear it's going to be. I mean, Shug was slinging that sucker all over, and his deep balls were connecting. And shout out to Chris Olave because he has returned to form and looks good given all the injury history. I'm surprised he wasn't a trade candidate, but I also understand that you got to have players for Shug to get the ball to, or man, he would look really bad because I think what he completed 19 passes and 7 of those went to Olave. So
Yeah.
and then on Brady's side, Dart really getting hurt. I mean, I'm not gonna say it cost him the week. He still needed 17 points, but he had 26 points with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So
Yeah, would have given him a fighting chance had Dart returned. The guy on Brady's team I want to touch on. We seem to talk about this guy a lot. I think you and I both are, for different reasons, hoping to see something from this guy because we know how promising of a player he can be. Keon Coleman found the end zone this weekend and now holding in 3 of his 8 targets. The 8 targets, that's what I get circle that. That's important, man. It's good to see that Allen is trying to find him and throw him the football. That's awesome. I'm happy that Keon Coleman was able to put something together this week. Theo Johnson feasted on the Bears defense. I feel like
yeah,
whenever
he
tight
did.
ends go against us, they either score or they rack up 50 to 75 receiving yards. No
Yeah,
really in between there. What really killed Brady this week, not just the Dart injury, because I mean, Dart played well. Dart gave Brady the best chance to win. Those bottom 3 right here, Barner,
yeah,
Arroyo, and Darnold. His Seahawks, bottom 3 of the lineup really killed him, which is shocking because Seattle won by 22 points, but there really wasn't much time for the offense to get into full. Darnold only attempted 12 passes. The defense and special teams, all 3 phases were clicking for Seattle this week. JSN, we'll get to that with Boyer, had a good week, but JSN has a good week every week. It was all of these guys at the bottom that really sold Brady.
yeah. The even Darnold in garbage time, like the 2 fumbles and the pick,
Yeah.
just weird considering he only threw 12 passes. He turned the ball over 3 different times. But yeah, I mean, big congrats to Wade on his
Yeah, man.
first win in Beaverfest. Certainly, no win comes easy in this league, although
Nope.
a lot do come easy. But shout out to Wade for, I guess, righting the ship. No better time than the
Yeah.
present. So
I will say one more thing with Wade. Troy Franklin's been a sneaky guy for him this season. He really has. I think when he played me, one of the 2 times Wade played against me, Franklin had 2 touchdowns. I don't know what like his log looks like in terms of how he's done full season wise. I know 5 catches for
wide receiver
40 yards
23,
is
man.
awesome.
He's a
I
wide
mean,
receiver
yeah,
too in the fantasy world.
dude, he's been solid. He's put up some good weeks. So I think that's a guy that if you're Wade, you're excited about, and you don't want to. I shouldn't say don't want to trade him off because you just never know. There's a lot of trades in this league, but it's a guy. It's a valuable piece. It's an asset that he has, and that's whenever I look at Wade, I see Franklin in the end zone, one way or another, putting up points and showing up and showing out. So yes, once again, as JP said, congrats to Wade. We get to my matchup against the Beaver. Bummer we can't have Drew on the panel for this, but I'll give my piece and then I'll let JP go and kind of reflect on Drew's team and all that. This was a huge week for my group. We really need. I mean, both me and Drew really needed this. We entered 5-4 on the week, and oh wait, no, did I do that wrong? 5-4 or no? We
Yeah, five
five,
and
yeah,
four.
5-4. Yeah, we really needed this one. This was a statement win. I mean, not only did we win, we won pretty dominantly. I need more from my quarterbacks. Herbert with 14. That was the Sunday night game is just kind of slow as well. It's all these primetime games, man. You look at Thursday night was a bummer game. I'm not saying Sunday night wasn't a bad game, but I also don't think it was a good game either. Lawrence really struggled. That was not a fun game to follow along for him. I do want to shout out Austin Hooper, get the spot start for us this week, putting up a whopping goose egg. I knew I was going to go into this week with 9 guys. I knew he wasn't going to contribute anything, but that's just kind of that's on Brenton Strange for being on the IR. I don't want to say that's a lack of me preparing. I was hoping Strange would be back by this week, but he was not. It's a big time 42-yard touchdown from Brees Hall that we mentioned earlier on in the pod. Happy that Alvin Kamara put together a respectable game. And that's not a game that's going to, pop out to a lot of people, but from how he's been playing this year, I'll take 15 points from him any way I can get it. It's cool that Keenan Allen broke the record for most receptions by a Charger in the franchise history. That is pretty awesome, but I need more than 2 catches for 19 yards.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how that game went. And I'll do this every week now in the spirit, giving out game balls like all the NFL coaches do in the locker room. I got 2 game balls this week. Devon Achane, 40 points. He's incredible. The 3 years he's been with my team, he's a joy to have in both the receiving side of things and on the ground. He truly dominated in that win. And Emeka Egbuka as well. Another one of these 13 targets, man. Are you freaking kidding? 13 targets. It's fantastic. And he was great this week as well. So shout out my group. That's a great win all around. There's not much to complain about. And we still got some work to do to try and lock in a spot in the playoff picture, but this certainly helps. We needed this one really bad. And I'm happy we were able to get it.
Yeah, I'll do my best Beaver impression so we can recap Drew's matchup. And I'll just start by saying that, I really don't have much to say on this. But Jalen Hurts played like he'd never played football before. Ashton Genty, it's like the Raiders are just the worst offense in football. Like they're Chip Kelly doesn't know what he's doing. They're the worst offense in football. They don't even give him the ball. How do you not give him the ball? You picked him number 6. I don't know how you don't give him the ball. And then Jalen Warren, the Steelers offense is just they're just right there with the Raiders. They're the worst offense in football. I mean, they're by far the worst offense in football. And then Rashad Bateman. I mean, he's out there just running up and down, up and down, up and down. He's like my students at school. They're just running until they're out of energy. I don't know what they're doing. Jacoby Myers, I really can't be mad at you. You just got to Jacksonville and you caught all 3 passes. Romeo Dobbs, you're probably concussed again. I don't even know what you're doing out there. Just running around 1 for 4 for 5 yards. I mean, Jesus Christ. Kyle Pitts, really? Michael Penix, the worst quarterback in the league. Rico Dowdle, you're still playing good. And DeAndre Swift, you actually look a lot better. And Caleb, my sweet prince, you're still the go. But, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, Luke, you still suck, and my team would still beat yours if we played right now. But whatever. Congrats on the win, Andy.
That was good. Now does JP have anything to say on this? Or
Yeah, I mean, I'll say exactly what we've been saying all year about Drew's team. I mean, the running backs, right? So you still get 15 from Dowdle, and you're getting 15 from Swift, which just seems to be the new norm for Swift and Dowdle. Which awesome, awesome. But like I said, I don't understand why we keep starting Genty, right? And so fine, Warren gets to start. Genty obviously outscored Warren, which is fine. I don't understand how we go and we look at Trevion Henderson last week. We see the 75% snap share, right? And sure, he only had 13 points. I don't understand how we see the 75% snap share and then we don't start him this week, right? I mean, he still would have lost, all things considered, still would have lost, but he might need those points for come the end of the year, and he just let 15 of them slip away or 17 of them slip away on the bench by not starting Henderson. It was a tough week. He couldn't start CeeDee Lamb and he didn't have Travis Kelce. So, I mean, tough week, all things considered. But like you mentioned, you had Austin Hooper going. So, I mean,
my
there's only so much you can do. So,
my favorite interaction, one of my favorite interactions of the weekend in the group chat is when Drew texted about Bateman, asking, "Are the Ravens just not going to use him?" And,
yeah.
and to your response was, "You started Rashad Bateman. I don't know what you were expecting."
Yeah, you
And then to
started
my
Bateman with
response,
expectations.
yeah, to my response was, "I have Austin Hooper." So those two basically cancel each other out. And they didn't really. I mean, Bateman actually
Yeah,
scored.
yeah.
Not, I mean, no excuses. Obviously, I get it, man. You got to do what you got to do. But we'll talk more in the power rankings how this matchup affected playoff looks, and the road gets a lot tougher for one team compared to the other. And we save our highest scoring performer for last. How about this, JP? Cam Boyer, a 200 burger on Zippy this week. He beats him by 75.
Yeah, shout out to Boyer, his second time over 200 this year. I was looking at some things earlier, and he's been all over the place. Whether it's hit the beginning of the season, he was like consistently between 125 and 145, and then he goes for 180, and he's the leading scorer in the league for a reason. This is just one of those teams you want to own. And you look at it from like a redraft perspective. And it's a lot of guys that people were very weary of. Taylor in a new off or in an offense led by Daniel Jones, JSN led in an offense led by Sam Darnold, Kyron. The redraft community has been talking about how Kyron's going to lose his snap share since Blake Corum's gotten there, and that just hasn't happened. Goff without Ben Johnson, Metcalf, he's been struggling, but Pittman's been really good this year. I don't know how he keeps playing Hawkinson. I guess it's because he's got to play one of Hawkinson or Ingram, I guess.
Ingram's
But
been abysmal. I cut him in
yeah,
the draft league. I
I
cut
did
him in both
too.
redraft
I
leagues
spent
that I
him
had
in
him.
took him in the eighth round. I had to cut him.
Yeah,
Unfortunate, but and then Jawan Johnson's been the absolute steal of fantasy. Waddle has looked impressively good since Tyreek Hill's left, and I believe Stafford's a top 7 quarterback right now. He's
yeah.
number 7 on the money with a bye week too, which says a lot more than it doesn't say. So yeah, big week for Boyer. And then just a low scoring week for Zippy.
Yeah, fall from grace for Zip from last week. Dak being on a bye is tough. We mentioned last week on the pod with the Daniels injury, how his quarterback situation changes, having to play Mariota, who actually didn't do bad this week, and
No, all
Rodgers, who
things
struggled
considered.
in prime time. Fantastic game from George Kittle, man, 30 points. Never going to complain with that. But then on the flip side, you don't get much help at receiver. We keep stressing the weird Monday Night Football game, and A.J. Brown basically, just like Drew would say, running cardio out there, not doing anything. And the Wilson injury really sucks. I mean, a goose egg in your lineup's not going to help you flag down a team that put up 200. For Saquon Barkley, Are you worried at all? I mean, not an efficient showing, man. 22 carries for 60 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry. Quick math. Not efficient whatsoever.
No, and I mean, outside of that New York Giants game in week 8, he has been relatively lackluster. I mean, outside of the 33, his high is at 18.4, which we're just not used to seeing from Barkley. And if you look at the YPC, the yard per carry line here, I mean, a lot of red: 3.33, 2.56, 2.26, 2.44, 2.73. There's been a lot of bad showings from him against some relatively bad defenses. I mean, Minnesota's run defense hasn't been too good this year, and Dallas has been arguably the worst defense in the league, and he only averaged 3.33 yards per carry. But I think what Zippy really cares about is what he gets going here in the
Yeah.
playoffs, and he's got some horrifically bad run defenses right in front of him. So I'm sure Zippy's locked in on that, and we could see Barkley in Week 13 go for about 200 yards if they got everything going. But worried from a long-term standpoint, yes, because I mean they've got some cupcake games coming up here. Well, cupcake in run defense speak. They've got some cupcake games coming up, but I am worried about Barkley because the run game just has not been there, and I don't even know if it's a Barkley issue. I think it's because they're missing Kellen Moore, who I don't even know. Nick Caley, is that who they promote? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know who they promoted to offensive coordinator. I'm going to do a quick Google search while I ramble, but it's an offensive play calling problem. Kevin Patullo, whoever that is, never even heard of him. I just know it
Yep.
was an in-house promotion. And the last time Sirianni did that, it didn't work out at all. It didn't work out even a little bit. Then they brought Kellen Moore in. They brought in Barkley, and things were absolutely electric. Kellen Moore leaves. The run game struggles. Hurts struggles. The offense has looked terrible all year. Outside of they had one game a week or two ago where they scored 35 points or whatever, but been a bad week or bad year for the Eagles offense, and I think that'll continue. So Zippy's gonna have to struggle through. But I mean, you just can't bench AJ Brown and Saquon
No.
Barkley.
I mean, I'm not saying I go through the same struggle, but Devonta Smith's been very up and down. I deal with that on a weekly basis too, so I get that. I think you bring home a good point with the promoting internally at OC. Should be a lot of firings this offseason and a lot of offensive minds that'll be former head coaches. I mean, we just saw one at Brian Dable get canned this past week from the Giants. That could open some things up. Philly could try to retool. All I have on Boyer, you mentioned it. Taylor's unreal. JSN continue. He's an easy 20 points a week guy. I mean, he's about as
Every week.
consistent as it gets. Juwan Johnson, that's the quietest 22 points I think you'll see in fantasy football this season. And fantastic quarterback play from two guys that were involved in a big trade for each other many years ago in Goff and Stafford. Boyer might very well be unstoppable this year. I'm not saying this to put a jinx on him. I'm serious, man. He might be the team with the least amount of flaws that's trying to go
Yeah.
for it. And that's no offense to anyone at the top, but
No.
I mean, he's doing this every week. Like, well, I mean, obviously that's why we play the games and mentioned dud weeks happen, but he on paper, man, it looks really good with what he is rocking right now. So that'll do it for our week 10 recaps. We still have our week 11 previews that we can get into next here on the Just Beavin podcast. We have just 4 regular season weeks remaining. Let's get into our week 11 previews. Had a couple of big matchups in week 10 that kind of shifted the tides and determined some things what the potential playoff picture may look like in year 4 of our Dynasty League. Hard to believe we're already 4 years into this thing. And JP, after I played Drew last week for the second time this year, you get your first crack at the Beaver here in this 2025 campaign in week 11.
Yeah, there's a couple of matchups on his side that worry me that I'll highlight quickly before I braggadociously talk about myself. Genty versus Dallas jumps off the page, and then on the turn, CeeDee Lamb versus Vegas. Those are two porous defenses. I'm sure Genty will get it going against them, and then Travis Kelce always seems to feast against the NFC or the AFC West. My apologies. So I'm a little worried about that. I do think the Bears get somewhat neutralized this week, so I don't want to say I'm hoping Caleb Williams and Swift don't score a lot, but certainly if that were the outcome in real life, it would be eased a little bit by the fact that I'm playing during fantasy. But my side, the Ravens guys are not scoring that much against Cleveland, so I can already dock myself down to 160 between the two of them. I'm excited for McCaffrey versus Arizona. I have a weird feeling that'll be like not a shootout, but like 28-24. So I'm hoping McCaffrey can find the end zone twice, and then Marv can find it at least once. Jefferson against Chicago, we have no corner. That should be a feast. And then I'm hoping I get my lick back with Bowers versus Dallas. I mean, there's no way they can't feature him this week. We'll see what ends up going on with Gazden. If he's not good to go, Fannin will slide in, and it'll be some version of Jennings or Thomas taking his spot in the flex. And then Brissett, I'm not sure, sir. I'm not still sure I'm going to start him if Mac Jones is still the starter this week. Like I think he will be and should be until Purdy is well over 100% good to go. I think Brissett will probably be on my bench.
Yeah, I think when we're looking at this matchup on your end, JP, the big thing for you, kind of similar to when I played Beeve this past week with him having Hurts and Dobbs on Monday Night Football. Obviously, that not being as big of a deal as you having to face Genty and Lamb on Monday Night Football, his main guys. I think the big thing for you is just getting a comfortable enough lead um, in all of this and making sure you have enough of an advantage and a lead point heading into Monday Night Football. You just don't want to leave it the chance that game could result in some high scoring affairs for certain guys. So I can definitely understand the worries there, but I don't know. I think we saw from Drew's team 2 weeks ago when he put up 170. A lot of that was because of Monungai and Williams against a really poor Cincy defense. He gets some guys back they didn't have last week against me, but I feel like that 152 number is high on his end. I know he'll some of his guys will overshoot their projections, but other guys I don't think will. I understand your concern with the Baltimore Cleveland game, so I even think if you go under that 170 mark, I still think you're safe. I still think you're all right. I'm going to take you to beat Drew this week.
I'm going to take myself. Drew gave me his picks this week, and obviously he takes himself. So
And from your matchup to mine, I got to take on Matt this week, and this is another extremely crucial matchup for both myself and Matt. We're both 6-4, both fighting for that final playoff spot. We really need you, Matt, and I really need you to beat Drew. It really is looking like me, Matt, Drew, still three guys fighting for the final two spots in, barring anything with Luke. Luke's got a game on both Matt and I this week, and yeah, I mean, I'm worried for on Matt's end. He's got Jamar Chase back. That's all you need to see, all you need to know. I'm content with how well, for the most part, Pittsburgh's secondary held the Chargers in check this past week, but Jamar Chase is truly a different type of beast, and he's a different type of animal for them to face. He's incredible in every stretch of the imagination, and similar to you worrying about CD and Genty on Monday Night Football. I'm equally worried about Javonte Williams needing to have enough of a lead. I do have Jake Ferguson in response in that game, but I'm just obviously you would like to go into Monday Night Football having that advantage and not really having to worry a whole lot. He's got some good receivers. I feel like that divisional game. I You're going to see later. I like the Rams Seahawks game this week in our picks of the week. So I like that enough to have some faith in that Devontae Adams can do something. I have Puka on the other end. He needs to go toe for toe, if not get more. Puka against Buffalo could get a little weird. I start the week off with Brees Hall against the Patriots on Thursday Night Football, which it makes me extremely nervous. After a big 40-point week, Devon Achane is participating in my favorite thing that the NFL does, stupid international games. So, but we just saw Jonathan Taylor go nuts over the pond last week. So it's not saying guys can't do it. Some guys just play differently overseas. Herbert's got a divisional matchup against Jacksonville. Same to be said for Keenan Allen. It's good to have some guys back in my lineup that are ready to rock and roll. But Matt's got a good team as well. Made some moves at the deadline to go get some key aspects and key assets for his team moving forward. He's trying to win. He's trying to compete. He's trying to push. The projections are very justified. I think this will be a tight matchup. I always pick myself to win, but there's plenty to worry about on his side. And also, I don't love the fact that Josh Jacobs has to go against the Giants. I know their defensive front is great, but I feel like Green Bay is due for a bounce back week after their poor showing on Monday Night Football at home against the Eagles.
yeah, I actually like both your teams' matchups. I think it's going to come down to who catches the touchdowns versus Buffalo, I think is what's going to make the big deal here. I expect a big bounce back game from both the Bills and the Buccaneers. And so if Egbuka is featured and is catching the touchdowns, I think, Andy, you win this one comfortably. If it's going to Tez Johnson or Cade Otton or, they're throwing passes to Rashad White or Sean Tucker or something of the sorts, I think that'll be where that's where this matchup's going to be made. I like the Seattle defense a lot. If there's anyone that's going to neutralize these two right now, it'll be Seattle. But again, that's still a tall, tall, tall glass of water to drink down. You got to stop two of the top 15 receivers in the league. So we'll see about that. And then, I don't know what to make of Sutton and Keenan Allen. They're two guys that can go for 18 apiece and then dud the next week. Geno versus Trevor is really going to be something to monitor. But again, Geno versus Dallas, I really like the matchup, and just purely on a matchup basis, I'm going to take Matt to win this one. I'm worried about Brees versus New England. And then the international games, you mentioned it, they're just so weird. I don't like picking guys on either of those teams. Nico Collins has definitely found his rhythm with Davis Mills playing. We'll see if Mills suits up again, but either way, I think they've realized they need to get him the ball way more often. And the last time Chase suited up against Pittsburgh, he went for 38 points on 16 receptions.
That was that
So,
Thursday night game. I remember
yep.
that. Yeah.
And so now that's still living in the back of my head, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I'm taking Matt. Drew took Andy in this matchup.
And I'm assuming he took himself over you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you know what, man? It'll be tight. I think this matchup is a big reason why. I mean, obviously for head-to-head standpoint, but beating Drew last week for my sake was so important because I knew with Matt's matchups this week, it's not going to be easy. But we look at easy here. We look at Frank taking on Jack, and this should be on paper, all things considered, an easy way for Frank to get to 9-2. JP, your thoughts before we hit a quick intermission?
Yeah, I'm just a little worried that, if I lose to Drew this week and Frank gets this freebie win, I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch back up to him. I've got a tough end of the season and he's got a couple cupcakes on there. But yeah, this should be a relatively. Oh, Josh Downs with the bye. I hope Jack watches this and catches that. We don't need another Josh Downs infraction. But this should be a relatively easy win for Frank. You're just looking for the bounce back from like Nix and Flowers and McMillan and hoping you can see something from Higgins. But otherwise, this should be a relatively big blowout for Frank.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you just, like you said, hope the guys who struggled the week before bounce back, find some stride. The guys who played well continue to do so, and everyone stays healthy. Right? That is always the big talking point. We do have to take a quick break here on the pod. We still got 4 more matchups to preview. That's coming up on the other side of this timeout here on the Just Beavin podcast. Picking up where we left off in our week 11 previews, Zippy has got Wade this week. Wade coming off his first win in the league and of the season, and Jake coming off a tough loss against Cam Boyer, who put up 200 on him. Zippy at 7-3, Wade at 1-9, and Jake's got a good chance to improve to 8-3 and further cement his spot further and further along into the higher seeds of the playoff race this season. JP, there really isn't much to be said here with a matchup on paper. Good to see Wade get a win last week. Really back-to-back good weeks for Wade after he made a handful of moves ahead of the trade deadline to get a bit more competitive down the stretch here in this 2025 season. But based on what Jake's got going on, looking for bounce back weeks out of AJ Brown, rather, not Antonio Brown, AJ Brown against Detroit on Sunday Night Football. Good showing for Romo Dunze last week against the Giants. It'll be a bit different facing off against that Minnesota secondary for the second time here this season after seeing them in week 1. He's got some guys in prime time. Jake does this week. He's got his QB1 Marcus Mariota playing over the pond, but I am not all that worried personally. I have him defeating Wade this week, and for Wade, just looking to see more progress from guys. He's got Sam Laporta, Troy Franklin, who scored last week. We mentioned him in the recaps, and just a building block week last week, JP, for Wade, and Zippy should win this one rather handily.
Yeah, certainly. I think Zippy likely wins this one. But Wade's gotten his team to a point now where if your team duds and you only score 125, it's gonna be a sweat of a week. So if the Eagles come out how they did last week, and we see Rodgers do what he just did, little Rashad White dud, Kittle doesn't go for 30, things could add up quick for Zippy, but I don't foresee that happening. I'm taking Zippy to win this. Drew also has Zippy winning.
Alrighty. Pretty straight, simple, forward, and to the point. Let's get on to our next matchup. We've gone through a couple of blowouts, and we have another one in the works here. Crook got his first win of the season as well last week, his first win in over a calendar year in about 14 months. And I mentioned when talking about me and Matt facing off, you have Drew. It's me, Matt, Drew really fighting for those final 2 spots. Luke is the next closest, but he's going to get that extra win here this week against Crook. JP, this one should not be all that competitive.
No, and looking ahead, there's obviously not much to talk about here. Crook, you hope to see McCarthy keep doing what he's doing. Wandale continue to build his stock. He's building it into something that could be certainly tradable in the offseason for some very solid assets. And then, yeah, Luke, free win. But looking ahead, Luke wins this, we assume. He moves to 8-3. And if I lose this, I have a matchup with Luke next week that could drop me as low as the 5 seed and move Luke up to potentially the 2 or the 3 seed, depending on what happens with Frank, Zippy, and himself. But there's a lot to go down between me, Frank, and Luke here as things round out. But yeah, this is gonna be a free win to Luke, so he's looking at 8-3 and a likely playoff ticket to be punched.
A lot of moving pieces still. Keep in mind, Luke's at 124. He had Olave in his lineup who's on a bye, so there will be that number will only go higher for Luke. Do you have anyone else no buy in that lineup or
No.
no? Okay, and obviously he'll have some guys, potentially some guys to put in off his bench. Maybe not. I still can't believe he
Oh yeah,
rosters Henry
Goddard.
Ruggs.
I know it's
I still
hilarious.
can't believe he rosters Henry Ruggs. That is truly something else. Cam Boyer coming off his 200-point performance last week. Does he have anyone to buy in his lineup, JP? Because 134 seems like an awfully low number for Boyer.
Still got McLaurin sitting in there, but he's out.
Okay, so
So it'll
he's
go up about 12.
yeah, he's still projected to beat Brady. Brady's taken a couple of steps back in the last few weeks. He was under 100 last week, but I think we can talk about Brady similarly as you just mentioned. Wade, he's not dud proof. You can't afford to put up 120, 130 and still feel comfortable about winning. Now, I'm not trying, once again, not trying to say this about Boyer, but with how his team has been performing, he's had guys just go nuclear week in and week out, and guys continually overshoot their projections. This should not be an issue for Boyer. You're looking still at your quarterback play of can Goff and Stafford continue to push the pace? That matchup in Philadelphia on prime time. These prime time games have been real stinkers these last few weeks. So that could be a lower mark for him. Do we know if Dart's going to play this week? I don't know if it's too early. We're recording this on
I think
Thursday.
it's still up in the air.
So, I mean, obviously, if Dart doesn't play this, everything I'm going to say is out the window in terms of how close this could be if Boyer's guys don't show up. But, he's got JSN. That's right. The Colts are off this week, aren't they?
Yep.
That is okay. Like I said, this shouldn't be an issue. I still have Boyer, but this definitely isn't a walk-in shoe-in victory like it normally would be, given some certain circumstances. I'm still taking Cam Boyer, though.
Yeah, I'm also taking Boyer. I would be more inclined to make an argument for Brady, but unfortunately, the Chiefs have a tough matchup with the Denver defense. Like I did mention, though, I do think Bills Tampa is going to be a shootout, like I'm sure everyone else does. So it probably won't be by that measure. But if the Chiefs end up blowing out Denver or at least score some touchdowns and Rice gets 2 of them, Shakir and Coleman both find the end zone and both get 7, 8, 9 targets apiece. This certainly could be an interesting week. We've seen duds from Metcalf, we've seen duds from Hawkinson, we've seen duds from Tracy. Singletary could completely cancel out Tracy at that rate, and who knows what's going to happen over the pond, like you mentioned with Waddle and Washington and Darnold and Stafford facing off. Wow, these guys have a lot of guys playing against each other.
That's always
Uh,
fun.
but
Yeah.
but either way, I think Brady makes this closer than he's gonna be projected to lose by roughly 30 points. I think Brady makes it a little closer than that if Dart plays. If Dart does not play, I don't think we're like you mentioned. I don't think we're discussing much of an upset here.
Alrighty, so on paper, Boyer as well to 9-2. Our final matchup of the week. This could be a fun one. The Typhoons, or as Luke Hunley likes to refer to them as, the Typhonies, taking on the Scat Squad. I say this could be a fun matchup, but Dade has severely gone under his projection big time these last couple of weeks, including a 52-point showing a week ago. JP, do you think this one will be particularly close whatsoever?
I don't. And the fall off of Chuba Hubbard, it's been a topic for us for 4 weeks, 5 weeks now, and it's not getting any better. I mean, he's projected a career low of 4 points. I don't think he's been projected that low since. I mean, who was there before him? Mike Davis? Is that who was starting over Hubbard when he first got to Carolina? Does that sound right? Or was Christian McCaffrey still there?
I think Hubbard was, yeah, it was McCaffrey.
Was it McCaffrey? Oh yeah, the Mike Davis. Well, was Mike Davis prevalent in this league? Our first year of the league, Mike Davis was either in Carolina or he was coming off the Carolina season in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But either way, I don't think Chubb has been projected this low since he was backing up CMC. So that should be interesting. I don't think this will be particularly close, but there is draft spot implications for those who care. If Ty wins this, it jumps him up. I believe he holds the fourth overall pick right now. It jumps him up to the sixth overall pick, and if Dade wins this, it might almost lock Dade in at the sixth overall pick. So, I guess draft implications, but no one's really able to throw the match. So,
I was going to say you might know this off the top of your head more than I would. Does Ty hold the tiebreaker over Drew?
Does Ty hold the tiebreaker over Drew? No, Drew holds the tiebreaker over
I
Ty.
was going to say because if Ty wins and Drew loses this week, they'll both be at 5-6. So,
Yeah, no, Drew swept the Typhonies, I believe.
okay, okay. So there you have it. Nothing really much then. I mean, Ty obviously the playoffs aren't much of a realistic look for him, given circumstances now as roster shapes out. But it would be fun to have that dialogue of if he held the tiebreaker over Drew and him having the same record on the pod next week. I was going to ask, I don't think we even touched on this. We are so terrible at doing this before we do the previews. How did everyone do last week, and what are our records entering week 11? And then I'll triple down and ask you to run through all of our picks once more. I don't think we disagreed really. I think we had my matchup we disagreed on, but other than that, I think we were lockstep the rest of the way.
Um, yeah. So last week, Andy, you had the best record. You went 6-1. You've moved to where did I write that down? Tisk tisk tisk. 51-19. I had an abysmal week at 4-3, and
Oh
I'm
man,
now 50-20. And Drew went 5-2 and is now 51-19 as well. So you guys are at 51-19. I am 50-20. I'm not even sure if that maths out. I might be missing a game. No, that's right. We're what, 10 weeks in? Seven
yeah.
picks a week. That's 70. Yep, that maths out.
What did you
And then
miss
yeah,
last week? Four and
oh
three.
man, it was bad. I
I know you
took
took
Beeve
Beaver
to
over
beat.
me.
Yep. And then I took Dade to beat Crook, and then I took myself to beat Frank.
Ah, okay.
So just whiffs all over the board. And then this week, yeah, the only picks that differ is I took Matt, you and Drew took yourself, and then Drew took himself, and me and you took myself. Everything else is Frank and Frank's matchup, Zippy, Luke, Boyer, and Ty.
What did I get wrong last week?
Only me. You took me to beat Frank.
Okay.
I will say though, I did forget to mention this. We did say in the when we were previewing that matchup that whoever wins is going to score 180. And granted, I didn't make it a game, but Frank did score 180 in order to win that, and that sticks true. I think if we genuinely go back through the history of me and Frank's matchup, the winner always is in the at least 180 plus. So
It's a scary thing to think about if you two happen to find each other in the playoffs this year down the stretch at some point. And hey, you know what? We like to think we know ball every once in a while. And we now transition from our week 11 previews to our power rankings. This is the first time I'm seeing them. Sometimes we'll share them before we hit the record button, but we're going into this blind. Obviously, Drew sending in his picks. We don't have him here on the panel this week, JP, and as we look up and down, yeah, like I said, top four, a lot of movement. Hey, thanks guys, appreciate that for me at four. But JP, I'll let you take the reins here.
yeah, I think it was about time. I think it wasn't really a matter of if, but rather when Boyer was going to officially hold that number one spot down. He's been at two, just based on really the rosters on paper. Mine has bigger names, but Boyer's production has just been absolutely outmatched this week. Frank, I know what you're thinking. Why am I over you? I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for Drew. But I kept myself over you simply because we're now 1-1 on the season. I scored more than you scored this week when I beat you, and you scored less. And yeah, I just I lost this week, and it was a rough week, but I still think my team's a little bit better. Can't just focus all on the matchup at hand. When I scored 217 a week ago, got to kind of take it all as we roll. But I did give you your flowers at three, and Andy put you at two, which I think for the exact opposite reasons that I just explained why I kept
It,
myself above you.
yeah, it was hard, man. I
Yeah.
literally I made them today. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I it's one of those where like because then literally I went to points for him like you have scored more than Frank this year. It was hard. You know what? I was like, yeah,
No,
let's
it,
mix
it
let's mix
was
things up. Let's go on the matchup,
yeah.
and then it's you the top three is the top three, man. I think that's what we have here. It's going to be jumbled up one way or another. We'll all go down the same, but yeah, it was a hard decision.
Yeah, and then Andy jumping two spots as Zippy falls two spots up to four. You actually rank yourself the lowest out of all of
I love
us
how that works. I love how that
every
works.
time.
I was waiting for Drew to rank himself above me this week. I really was, but I appreciate the love, guys. It was like I said, Jake's got the better record. He's got the head to head on me right now, so I kept him up there. It was a tough 125-point week for him, and my group showed out. But gotta keep the boys a little humble. We can't be putting the cart too far ahead of the horse. We got to get to the finish line first. But I do appreciate the love at four.
Yeah, and then as I mentioned, Zippy, you go down to 5. I think that's just injury history and then a rough week for you. Andy left you at 4 though, but me and Drew kept you at 5 or moved you to 5. Beeve at 6. I put Beeve at 6 purely off the talent on his roster and what he put up 2 weeks ago when he put up 171. Obviously, this week was abysmal, but he was missing Kelsey and CeeDee Lamb. I do want to preface Mr. Hendricks. I do think your roster is better than Drew's, but you've had 2 dud weeks in a row, so I kind of need to see it come to fruition. You keep saying in the chat that you're almost, and I quote, full power. You don't even say full strength, you say full power. And so I would love to see that come to fruition this week for you. Luke, down at 8, Beef still putting himself above you. Some things are never going to change ever, unfortunately. And then, yeah, I mean, the bottom is the bottom. There wasn't much movement from 7 to 10. Brady and Ty have been stuck at 9 and 10 for what feels like months at this point. But a big shout out to Wade, who's up 2 spots, not only moving up last week from 14 to 13, but from 13 to 11 this week, moving up 2 spots. Jack had the one glorious week in the light and is now back down to 13. And shout out Crook, who is a part of the league, certainly a part of the league. And yeah, that pretty much rounds it out here. Is we're getting down to the crunch here.
We are.
As Andy mentioned, there's 4 weeks left. A lot of playoff implications coming up. I know weeks 12 and I think 13, everybody plays someone from their division. So there's a lot of things to go down for the rest of the season. But I'm excited as we're closing out the regular season. I cannot believe it is already week 11. It's just absolutely flown by.
Yeah, I want to shout out. I think it may have been Bear Down Ben in our Bears group chat that said, "How is it already week 10?" That had me thinking today too. I do want to point out before we kick it to Drew for a special edition of the picks of the week. Just want to shout out the Triple B's division. We have the #1 ranked team. We no longer have someone in the bottom 3. Suits and Soil bringing out the bottom 3 power rankings. I think it's the first time we can say that this year. And yeah, man, I mean, yeah, shout out Wade. It's awesome. The fact that he's able to move up in consecutive weeks, that's pretty great. I think it just shows that we drafted these divisions obviously when certain guys had different mindsets. I took Ty when he was terrible and he tried to compete. Now he's back down to mediocre again. It just shows the how much things can swing. And I always wonder how much different JP would things have been if we drafted those divisions. I don't know, in like July or August rather than April. We picked them at the right time. We needed to pick them before the draft, and I understand that.
Yeah,
but it's definitely crazy to think how much things have changed, since we drafted those divisions.
100%. I definitely would not have let Wade fall to the 6th pick. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I was shocked. I mean, obviously that wasn't. He hadn't made all his moves yet. I didn't anticipate him blowing up the entire roster in the months to follow, but here we are, and that's exactly what happened. So those are your Week 11 power rankings. We are now going to kick it to the Beeve. He was unable to join the show this week, but he is still bringing you our picks of the week here on the Just Beavin podcast.
What's up, guys? Beeve back in action. Sorry I couldn't make the show this week. Got a little busy schedule upon me this week. Heading out Knoxville, Tennessee this weekend to see a buddy. Shout out to Typhoons. And I'm heading to the Illinois game tonight. So go Illini. We're going to beat the Red Raiders. So yeah, I'm going to do a little segment at home by myself. I got Yak and JP's picks with me right here in my hand. And let's go over them. So we're going to hit JP's line first. Also, for our viewers, we had a clean sweep last week. We went 3-0. So I believe that puts us at 21-18 or 20-17, something like that. Might want to fact check me on that with the show. Well, anyways, let's get back to it. So with JP's pick, he's going to hammer Commanders' money line. He thinks it's a trap line. He thinks they're going to Mariota's going to run all over that Miami defense. And he thinks the Dolphins beating the Bills was just a fluke game. Is he right? Is he wrong? We'll have to see. But I'm taking his word. Let's hammer the commies. All right, and with Mr. Yak's pick, our producer, our commentator, you know him. He's taking another over this week. He's got Seahawks Rams over at 48.5. He thinks it's going to be a shootout. He thinks Matthew Stafford's going to throw for 3 tutties. He thinks Sam Darnold and that Kurt Kulibiak offense is going to keep on rolling. Maybe it's just sprinkle in a JSN tutty again, just like last week. You never know. Could be a Torrey Horton week with 100 yards. Who knows? But we're going to hit at me with the last pick right here. And I'm going to stick with my touchdowns. I'm on a 2-heater streak. 2-time streak right here, okay? Didn't really make any sense, but we're just going to go with it. Got it? Because I'm rolling with it. All right, we're going over to the Steelers-Bengals game. Going to be, I would take the over. I don't know what it's at, but it's going to be high scoring. I'm going to take Calvin Austin plus 265 to score this week. I'm going to keep rolling with my anytime touchdowns. It's been working. I hit Genty 2 weeks ago. I hit JSN this week. We're going to do Calvin Austin this week in Pittsburgh. It's going to be a cold one, but I believe he's going to find the end zone this week. All right? Hope you guys enjoy the show. This will be at the end of our show. Just a little surprise. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It's the Beav.
Beav, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule this week to record that quick segment. It was good to have you on the pod in some way or another this week. JP, anything else to add before we get out of here and send the listeners and viewers on their way this week?
Yeah, just a subtle correction of Drew there. We are not 21-18. That would equate to, 49? Unfortunately, we're only 10 weeks in, so we have only made 30 picks, so only 19 off there. Our current record is 17-13. We went 3 for 3 last week. Andy took over 48.5 in the New England Tampa Bay game. That hit. I took Patriots money line. That hit. And Drew took JSN touchdown. We went 3-0 for the first time since week 1. And we now have at least we can all go 0-3 and still have a winning record. So that's good to see. But yes, just we are 17-13, not 21-18.
Alrighty. Yeah, that is good to hear. Hey, good week for the fellas last week. Let's hope those picks for this week come to fruition as well, and we continue to have some success in that department. Thank you all so much, as always, for tuning in to another edition of the Just Beavin podcast. The playoff picture and the playoff race is heating up. We can't wait to see you next week. Same place, same time. You can find us here on the Just Beavin podcast.